The breaking that births you, why your pain isn't pointless. There's this performance we've perfected, isn't there? Especially those of us who've been holding the world together with one hand while our own hearts are breaking in the other. We master the art of the polished exterior. We show up when we're crumbling. We carry burdens that would buckle most people. And when someone has the audacity to ask how we're doing, we flash that smile and say, I'm good, even though we can barely remember the last time we took a full breath without it catching on grief or exhaustion or the weight of everything we're not saying. I recently sat down with someone whose story will rearrange your understanding of what it means to survive and, more importantly, what it means to actually live. Latoya Walton is a woman who has rebuilt her entire existence 3 times. 3 times. She's survived rape. She's buried a child. She's built a business recognized by who's who. She's raising 2 daughters with grace and intentionality. And somehow, in the midst of all that breaking and rebuilding, she's still choosing softness in a world that taught her nothing but survival. Latoya is proof that transformation doesn't happen in spite of our pain. It happens because of our willingness to break open in the dark and reach towards something we can't even see yet. And here's what she reminded me, what she's reminding all of us right now: the breaking isn't the ending. Sometimes the breaking is the beginning. You know what happens to a seed before it becomes a tree? It breaks. It splits wide open in the dark, buried in dirt, with absolutely no guarantee that anything beautiful or worthwhile will emerge from all that discomfort. But that breaking, that's not destruction. That's the doorway to transformation. And maybe that's exactly where you are right now, in the dark, in the dirt, wondering if this pain you're carrying has any purpose at all, wondering if you'll ever feel whole again, wondering if the breaking will ever stop long enough for you to catch your breath. Let me tell you something, and I need you to really hear this. It does. Your pain has purpose, not because suffering is noble or because trauma is a gift, but because you get to decide what grows from the soil of your pain. You get to decide whether you stay buried or whether you break open and reach for the light. Now, I'm not here to romanticize trauma. I refuse to stand here and feed you some sanitized version of pain where everything happens for a reason and God never gives you more than you can handle, and all the other phrases people say when they don't know what else to offer. Because honestly, some things just happen. They're terrible. They hurt like nothing you've ever felt before, and there's no neat little bow to tie around them. But what I will tell you, what Latoya showed me, what I've seen in the lives of so many women who've walked through fire and come out the other side, is this: you get to decide what grows from the soil of your pain. You get to decide whether the breaking buries you or births you. And that decision, that's where your power lives. Let me tell you about Lisa Nichols. Lisa grew up in South Central Los Angeles, navigating poverty, abuse, and eventually single motherhood with a ferocity born of necessity. At her absolute lowest point, Lisa had $12 in her bank account. $12, not 1,200, not 12,000. 12. And a baby she could barely afford to feed. She was drowning in depression, shame, and the suffocating weight of feeling like she'd already failed at life before it even really started. Most people would have stayed there in the shame, in the story that says you're not enough, you'll never be enough. And who do you think you are to dream of anything different? But Lisa made a decision that would alter the entire trajectory of her life. She decided she was not going to give up on herself, not today, not tomorrow, not ever. She started attending personal growth workshops even when she couldn't afford them. She started sharing her story even when her voice shook and her hands trembled and she wanted nothing more than to disappear. She showed up as her most vulnerable, authentic, messy self, and people felt it. They saw themselves in her brokenness. They heard their own pain in her voice, and slowly, painfully, beautifully, she built an empire on the foundation of her own healing. Today, Lisa Nichols is a best selling author and the CEO of Motivating the Masses, one of the top training and development companies in the world. She's impacted millions of lives across the globe. She's been featured in The Secret. She's spoken on stages that once felt impossibly out of reach. And she's celebrated not because she pretended to have it all together, but because she had the audacity to be broken and keep going anyway. Lisa's story is proof that resilience isn't about being unbreakable, it's about breaking and choosing to rebuild again and again and again. And that's the first thing I need you to take with you today. The first truth I need you to write on your heart. No matter how overwhelming your trials, no matter how heavy the weight you're carrying, never give up on yourself. Every hardship, whether it's personal loss, trauma, failure, or just the slow erosion of hope, is an opportunity to shed what no longer serves you and move closer to your true purpose. But let's be honest for a second, that's easier said than done, right? Because when you're in the thick of it, when you're grieving, when you're exhausted, when you're barely holding on by a thread, the last thing you want to hear is some motivational speech about purpose and growth and silver linings. You just want the pain to stop. You just want to breathe without it hurting. I get it. Latoya gets it, and so does Morgan DeBon. Morgan was a college student when she lost one of her best friends suddenly. No warning, no goodbye, just gone. And that loss sent her spiraling into depression and a deep existential crisis about what her life was supposed to mean. She could have stayed there in the grief, in the darkness, in the question of why. And honestly, no one would have blamed her. But instead, Morgan did something radical. She channeled her pain into purpose. She started Blavity, a media company for Black millennials, right from her living room. She built a platform that celebrates Black voices, Black experiences, Black joy, Black complexity, because she knew that her friend's life mattered, and so did hers. And so did every other young Black person trying to find their place in a world that often refuses to make space for them. Today, Blavity is a leading media company. Morgan has raised millions in funding. She's been named to Forbes 30 Under 30 and Fast Company's Most Creative People. She's created jobs, launched careers, and built a community that spans the globe. And she did it all by planting a seed of hope in the soil of her grief. That's the second thing I want you to remember. Growth starts small. Even the smallest seed of hope or action can lead to extraordinary transformation. Do not underestimate your beginnings. Do not dismiss the tiny steps you're taking just to survive. Nurture them with faith and perseverance. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have a 5 year plan or a vision board or a perfectly curated Instagram feed that makes it look like you've got your life together. You just have to take one small step, write one sentence, make one phone call, say one prayer, set one boundary, plant one seed. Because here's the truth that nobody tells you: you are not behind, you are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not disqualified because of your past or your pain or the number of times you've had to start over. You are exactly where you need to be. And the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still trying, means something is already growing inside you, even if you can't see it yet. Now, I know some of you are thinking, okay, but what if I don't even know what my purpose is? What if I've been so busy surviving, so focused on just getting through the day that I've lost sight of who I even am? Let me introduce you to Dr. Kizmikia Corbett. Dr. Corbett is a Black woman from a small town in North Carolina who grew up facing racial and gender bias in STEM fields that have historically excluded people who look like her. She could have let those barriers stop her. She could have believed the lie that she didn't belong, that she wasn't smart enough, that the system wasn't built for her success. But instead, she leaned into her faith, her resilience, and her commitment to science. She refused to let systemic barriers define her ceiling. And during a global pandemic, when the entire world was falling apart and millions of people were dying and fear was suffocating hope, Dr. Corbett led the team that helped develop the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine, the vaccine that has saved millions of lives worldwide, millions. Her journey from a small town to the forefront of pandemic response is proof that trusting the process, even when you can't see the outcome, even when the odds are stacked against you, can result in world changing achievements. She didn't wake up one day knowing she'd be saving lives on a global scale. She just kept showing up, kept believing in herself, kept doing the work even when it felt invisible. And that's the third thing I need you to hear. Really hear. Trust that your journey, including its darkest moments, can reveal new purpose and meaning. For Latoya, losing her daughter was a turning point that helped her find deeper significance in her life and work. For Morgan, losing her best friend became the catalyst for building a media empire that uplifts an entire generation. For Dr. Corbett, every obstacle became fuel for a mission that would literally change the world. Your pain is not pointless, your struggle is not in vain, and your story is not over. But here's the part we don't talk about enough, the part that makes us uncomfortable because it requires us to be brutally honest with ourselves and the roles we've been performing for far too long. You have to let go of the cape. I'm talking to the women who've been strong for so long that they've forgotten what it feels like to be soft. The women who've been holding everyone else together while quietly falling apart behind closed doors. The women who've been told that rest is laziness and boundaries are selfish and asking for help is weakness. That cape is heavy and it's not yours to carry anymore. Latoya reminded me of this during our conversation. She said that part of her healing, part of her ability to rebuild 3 times, was learning to release the roles and responsibilities that were never hers to begin with, to stop performing strength and start embracing softness, to stop surviving and start living. And that's what the soft girl era is really about. It's not about being weak or passive or giving up on your dreams or your responsibilities. It's about reclaiming your right to rest, to feel, to say no, to protect your peace, to choose yourself without guilt or apology or explanation. It's about redefining what strength looks like because strength isn't just about how much you can carry. Sometimes real strength is knowing when to put it down. So here's what I want you to do right now, today, this week. I want you to identify one area in your life where you're tempted to give up. Maybe it's a dream you've been too scared to pursue. Maybe it's a relationship you've been too tired to heal. Maybe it's yourself, the version of you that's been buried under years of trauma and expectations in survival mode. And instead of giving up, I want you to plant a seed of hope. Take one small step forward, no matter how difficult. Write down your vision for growth and revisit it daily. Trust that your journey has purpose, even in the pain, especially in the pain. Because here's the thing about seeds, they don't grow in the light, they grow in the dark, in the dirt, in the breaking. And so do you. Lisa Nichols had $12 in a dream. Morgan DeBon had grief in a living room. Dr. Corbett had bias in a small town beginning. Latoya Walton has rebuilt her life 3 times and is still becoming. And you have everything you need to grow. You just have to believe it. You just have to start. You just have to break open and reach for the light. So let me leave you with this challenge, this call, this invitation into your own transformation. Stop waiting for permission to rest. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. Stop carrying weight that was never yours to hold. Your soft girl era isn't coming. It's here right now, in this moment, in this breath, in this decision to choose yourself, to honor your healing, to trust that the breaking is birthing something beautiful. You are not too broken to bloom. You are not too tired to transform. You are not too late to begin again. The seed you plant today in the soil of your pain, in the dirt of your darkest moments, will become the tree that shelters someone else tomorrow. It will bear fruit that feeds generations you'll never meet. It will provide shade for souls who are still wandering in the heat of their own suffering. So plant it, nurture it, trust it, protect it. And when the world tells you to harden, to hustle, to keep that cape on just a little bit longer, I want you to remember Latoya. Remember Lisa. Remember Morgan. Remember Dr. Corbett. Remember that the breaking is not the end, it's the beginning. Now go. Live soft, love hard, and let the world watch you bloom.